Another day, another horribly traumatized waifu for SG to give us. Hooray! So, to those of you who are living under a rock, we recently got a brand new character. Her name is Abyssal Yufine, and what is her whole shtick? Basically, you survive until you hit max fighting spirit, and then whenever you have the fighting spirit, you beat the ever-loving fuck shit out of whoever you're fighting on the other side. So, let's break this all down real quick. We're fighting a Conqueror, Lilias, an ae-KARINA, and a Senya. So, basically, the biggest thing that you want to remember if you're going to be using Abyssal Yufine is you have to build her tanky, because the whole point of building her is she needs to have 2k defense. If she has 2k defense, whenever, you know, the magic hour approaches, and then you can use the S3, well, you gain 100% of your attack and your speed stat, but if you have over 2k defense, that effect is doubled. That means times 3 to those of you who are bad at math, just like me. So what that basically means is I have like, what, 178 or 176 speed, something like that? Well, whenever we activate S3, we gain 500, and you know what? I'm bad at math. Fuck it. Over 500 speed. So let's just see what happens.
Then how is this?
Well, looky there. The S3 will be a guaranteed strip that ignores ER, does a fairly decent amount of damage depending on your attack stat, and whenever you have trauma enabled, which she's under right now, which is a debuff, which means you cannot fucking stop it. It will always happen. And whenever she has full fighting spirit in general, she'll just completely cleanse herself on turn. So, we're able to go into the Conqueror Lilias, completely delete that unit, so we don't really have to worry about her anymore. And after you get your first trauma-filled rampage at the very beginning of using Abyssal Yufine, you pretty much are gonna have it forever, because she'll turn cycle so fucking fast while she's under the effects of trauma that you're able to build up enough fighting spirit that, hey, all I have to do is just really attack one more thing or be attacked, and bam, I have it again. But unfortunately, we do have a cooldown counter that is also on our S3. Thankfully, we do have that there, otherwise she would be kind of fucking ridiculous. But either way, the reason why we have Shuna with us is she is there strictly to tank any and all of the S3s and all of the main aggro from the ae-KARINA, because we do not want to be hit with any death breaks on our Abyssal Yufine. Because whenever she's under the effects of trauma, she will have essentially Death Break on her, but you can also apply Death Break to her whenever she has trauma. Now, the chances of that happening are pretty low because your speed is just so fucking crazy, but it can happen. And pretty much the biggest thing that can really go wrong if you're wanting to use Abyssal Yufine is pretty much if you're going into either something that you don't feel confident in hitting a unit with, like say Martial Artist Ken, or or basically an evasion unit. But hey, that being said, we're going to keep using her, and we'll see how she functions. We had Unbound Arowell there with us as well, because hey, we're playing Protect the President. Gotta keep her safe. And now, well, we're fighting another light meta team. Yay! You can tell by just how incredibly fucking excited I am. So, hey, Unbound Arowell, Savior Adin, and Spirit Eye Celine. So, you can easily fight any light meta team of your choosing if you wanted to by just throwing Dark Corvus at it. But you know what? It's like, I was like, God, I use this fucker all the time. Let's not use Dark Corvus, at least for right now. So, what's the other thing you can do? Well, we have Yulha here with us. She has Aureus on her as well. She also started with a protection set. And she basically, you know, gives a nice big thick barrier at the very beginning of the game. We have Aureus. We have Shadow Knight Pyllis tanking the effect from the Savior Adin. The Savior Adin is not going to have opening turn attack buff, so I'm not really too afraid if this was sort of cycling seasons of being able to utterly nuke my Shadow Knight Pyllis off the planet. And the other good news is we have Rule of Light with us. Now, the big reason why Rule of Light's important is straight up just because we're going into light meta. Light meta is only going to attack Shadow Knight Pyllis unless, you know, you get really, really unlucky like I have. I think I actually ended up critting the Spirit Eye Celine like 3 or 4 fucking times with my non-crit units. Like, there's another one right there. But hey, the good news is Shadow Knight Pyllis being on the team, being hit a lot, giving defense buff to everybody, and just straight up, I don't really even care if any of those attacks do go into my other units. Feels great. Now then, you're probably wondering, like, well, why are you letting your Yulha take so much abuse right now? The biggest reason as to why is if I wanted to use the S3 just for the sake of doing damage. Now, here is where you could either say I made a mistake because I decided to go into the Savior Adin right then and there, but I was fairly confident that I had enough damage on my Yulha that even though a barrier was coming, and the Spirit Eye Celine is just right around the corner getting ready to use her S3 again, we should be able to kill it. By the by, SG, love these fucking visual effects. Ever since Abyssal Yufine came into the game, the game's camera is pretty fucking bugged right now. Hopefully that'll get fixed by Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe we'll have it with us for another week. So anytime you use Yulha, your game is mad fucking screwy every time you use the S3. And also, like, all the camera work's all fucked up too. Like, the Spirit Eye Celine's S1, enhanced S1, just straight up isn't working properly either. But either way, we were able to do additional damage with our oh-so-wonderful Rocket Punch on Shadow Knight Pyllis. We were able to kill the Spirit Eye Celine before she was able to use her S3 again. But, like, straight up, I'm in a situation of I straight up do not give a fuck what this team does to me, because any damage going into Shadow Knight Pyllis, you have a really strong single-target healer in Ruele. You can also revive if anything should ever go wrong on your Shadow Knight Pyllis. And then you also have backup damage and damage mitigation with Yulha. Fuck, I don't care. So we'll just go ahead and skip to the end right there, because whenever it's Unbound at Arowell left, it's over. Now here, I know I said, oh, I don't want to use Dark Corvus, oh, I don't want to use Dark Corvus. Dark Corvus, honest to God, is merely just here as a form of security. And what do I mean by that? One, I don't know what the speed of the Savior Adin's going to be. Savior Adin could have easily gone first, and then she would have gone into my Dark Corvus, then I would have had to use Ahmed to, you know, do the attack buff situation right here, then I could kill her then. That is if the Savior Adin was faster. But because we were faster with our Ahmed, we're able to use S2, S3, give the attack buff to the Arunka, go into the Savior Adin, immediately fucking kill it, and then our next turn around with our new EE where we do 10% more damage on Thrashing of the Prairie, Shazam! Even with Escort, that Navy Captain Landy is fucking dead. And basically, after that, the match is already over 8 turns in. So it's really, really handy anytime you have an Arunka and you can properly boost her to go into Savior Adin and Unbound Night, not Unbound Night Arrow, but Navy Captain Landy shenanigans. The biggest thing you really just have to be aware of is, one, how fast are you and how fast are the things that you're going into. This is strictly why Dark Corvus was here, and if the Navy Captain Landy just decided to go absolutely apeshit and S1, and just S1 salvo me like constantly, I would have a Dark Corvus in my back pocket that could then just, you know, do the rest of the damage that was necessary. Next. So here is probably the most important, or probably the most common situation that you're going to probably be seeing Abyssal Yufine in, because it just feels very, very, very consistent to me when I'm just looking at it. She is extremely strong going into Anti-Cleave. The only thing that you have to remember is you just have to have some form of protection. Case in point, I have the only thing that could have really gone wrong there, I could have been Death Broken, the Rand could have been on RNL, and then he decided, oh, I'm going to go into the Abyssal Yufine. But the good news is that didn't happen, and also she has fairly decent bulk and defense as well, so it's able to work out. So we're fighting Rand, Apocalypse Ravi, and Mercedes. And sure, we didn't get a lot of counterattacks there, but straight up, just going one turn in, and because we have Doris with us as well, that's a death buff. Her S1 Dragon Roar is straight up, the more defense you have, the more damage that it does. And that is only before trauma. Whenever you have trauma active, then your attacks switch over to your attack stat, which is then times by 3. So the important thing to remember with Yufine is it's all about how you have balanced your stats. So this is where she's either going to be ridiculous depending on your level of gear, or she's going to be like just gonna be somewhat functional. Like, my gear isn't even the greatest, and still, we were able to do a lot of damage to that Ravi just opening turn. And I wasn't even able to properly explain everything that I was doing there. But either way, on to this next round right here. This is mad interesting, because we're going into a Navy Captain Landy, Abigail, and an ae-KARINA. So the big thing here is we're fast enough. The Abigail is actually way too damn slow. We're able to use Ahmed S2, S3. We'll throw that onto Aria just for the sake of turn cycling. And we have Skill Null, and she's the only target that Abigail can hit. Congratulations, your injury attack did absolutely fucking nothing. Yay! And now, literally everyone has to go into Aria. So, yeah, you're probably immediately looking at that, but Lucent, they still have crit resist, but Lucent, they still have, like, all this other shit. I don't give a fuck if they have crit resist or not. They're going to straight up take a lot of damage, and unless they have F-Res, which they clearly don't at this point, they're going to get stripped. Because the worst thing ever has already happened to the Navy Captain Landy. She has buff block and she has blind, and they're only going to continue to be applied. So if a Navy Captain Landy has buff block on her, hey, if she even has full fighting spirit, guess what? You don't get attack buff. So then your S3 does jack fucking shit. Yay! But either way, just through all of these wonderful attacks going into Aria, and the fact that we have Christy with us, Christy's giving us our extra F-Res just in case that Abigail was on Giga effectiveness. Hey, cool. We're somewhere in like the 260s in terms of F-Res with Christy on our Aria as well, and we're able to just tank that oh so wonderfully. And also Christy, has Aureus as well. She'll just, tank a little bit of that damage as well. And hey, Shazams! We're pretty much in the clear. So, it's a lot of fun any opportunity you actually see a good spot to throw Aria in. I could have tried to use Yufine in here, but this seemed a lot more guaranteed just because I was funneling all the attacks into Aria and it was perfectly timed. Like, Aria and Ahmed actually function extremely well together because Ahmed she kind of helps her sister just move through the fight a whole lot faster because you kind of have to build Aria either giga fast or giga slow, depending on your gear. But either way, moving on. So here's our final match here. We're going up against a Choux, an Edward Elric, and a Savior Adin. And this Savior Adin is slow as balls. So, okay, if you're going to give me that opportunity to just go turn one into the Savior Adin with my Shadow Knight Pyllis, I'm just going to straight up do it, provoke your ass, and deal a decent amount of damage. So that was the biggest risk that I actually took. But the good news is, there was no attack buff going to be applied to the Savior Adin, except for what she has onto herself. So, okay, we'll take that risk. If it's a Sword of Cycling Seasons and we just get one-tapped, oh well, we get one-tapped. And also, if she was to one-tap my Abyssal Yufine, but hey, my Abyssal Yufine actually has a little bit more defense than my Shadow Knight Pyllis, so those are the gambles that we're running here. Also, this Edward Elric is on injury. Yeah, I'm actually not too surprised by that, because a lot of Edward Elrics are actually being run on very, very decent injury sets. But straight up, I straight up don't give a fuck if you're on an injury set or not, because basically all that's going to happen is you're just going to activate Rise Equivalent Exchange onto my team, hit the whole fucking team, proc my will even further on my Shadow Knight Pyllis, give defense to my Yufine, allow her S1 to do more damage on AoE, because you gotta remember, the AoE Dragon Roar is based on your defense, and the single target attack is based on your attack. You get them based on if you have trauma or not, and we'll just pretty much kill these units outright. Woo! Now, the funniest part about all this shit, because there's so much stuff to talk about with Abyssal Yufine, she also has an S2. You know what her S2 does? It straight up fucking gives her Politis. It has Politis' S2 passive. So, if you wanted to, you could actually bring Pyllis and Abyssal Yufine into the same fucking team, and then straight up, oh lol, what CR? You straight up don't have any. LOL. So, if you ever are fighting something and you know they're going to do CR mechanics or shenanigans, you could actually bring those two units and you will absolutely just shit all over their day, which is kind of fucking hilarious to me. But, like, yeah, either way, Abyssal Yufine feels mad fun to use. So, what's my current consensus on her? Is she broken? Is she, like, really overpowered? Into an AI format? Yeah, she's pretty goddamn strong. But, like, into, like, say, RTA or any of that shenanigans, you know, that content that I don't fucking do, she seems like she would probably be pretty easy to play around. Unless in RTA, if you were going to go for a build that's based purely on RNG. So if you went, like, full fucking RNG, like Elbrus Ritual Sword, and then you just straight up didn't even care about your attack stat, and you just go full Giga Defense and crit damage, and then probably on a lifesteal set, then you're basically just doing, like, a weaker version of Landy. And I was like, that's kind of what I feel like you should do on it. But I was like, that just sounds like a lot of annoying-ass work. And it's like, why would I do all this shit whenever I could just use Landy? So it's like, whatever. That's kind of how it is. But hey, if you like playing tank down and protect the president-style gameplay, yo, Abyssal Yufine is mad fun to play. The only other unit that even kind of gives her a run for her money is Spectre Tenebria, but like they're actually two completely different kind of things. Because Abyssal Yufine has a big, massive weakness in that she will trigger all the landmines on the field with her S1 before trauma because you have to hit every unit, and then after trauma, you basically have negative, 70% of your defense, and you can only go into one unit at a time. And if you're fighting a counterattack unit, or if you're fighting an evasion unit, you very well are probably not going to do shit. But either way, boys, thanks for watching. If you like my video, go ahead and please leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, hit subscribe. Later.